Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that every woman needs to hear today. If you're tired of feeling like you're always the one putting in the effort, always calling first, texting first, planning everything, then this message is for you. See, a lot of y'all been taught to love hard, to give without limits, to chase love. But let me tell you something about men. Men chase what they value. Men pursue what they fear losing. There's something powerful about a woman who doesn't put all her cards on the table. When a man meets a woman, the initial attraction might be physical, but what keeps him intrigued, what keeps him chasing, is the mystery. A man values what he has to earn. When everything about you is revealed too soon, when your feelings, your plans, your heart, your time, and your body are given too quickly, the mystery fades. Men are natural hunters. They're drawn to the thrill of the chase, the excitement of discovery. And when a woman lets herself be completely open too soon, she robs him of the very thing that keeps his attention sharp and his efforts consistent. That doesn't mean playing mind games or acting fake. It means holding some things back until he's proven that he's truly worthy of seeing more. Imagine walking into a bookstore and reading the entire plot summary of a novel on the back cover. Suddenly, you don't feel the need to read the book. The mystery is gone. Now imagine another book where the back cover gives you just enough to spark your interest but leaves you curious, wondering what's going to happen. That's what a woman with mystery does. She invites curiosity, and that curiosity keeps a man coming back to learn more. When you're always available, always explaining yourself, always proving yourself, you're not giving him a reason to dig deeper. He feels like he already has you figured out. And once a man thinks he has you figured out, he either stops trying or starts taking you for granted. So how do you create mystery? It starts with restraint. Don't share your entire life story on the first few dates. Don't immediately respond to every text or call. Don't cancel your plans just because he suddenly became free. Let him wonder what you're doing. Let him question who you are when you're not with him. You don't need to make up stories or pretend you're busier than you are. Just have a life that doesn't revolve around him. Stay in control of your energy. Keep some parts of your world private until he earns access. When he asks a question, answer it with grace. But don't go into unnecessary detail unless he's shown that he's genuinely interested in more than just surface-level connection. Let him ask follow-up questions. Let him be the one pulling the story out of you, piece by piece. Peace. Also, emotional mystery is just as important. Don't reveal your entire emotional roadmap too early. When you feel something, pause. Sit with it. Don't rush to express every feeling or explain every emotion. Give him space to wonder what's going on inside your mind. When he can't read you easily, it makes him try harder to connect with you. He becomes more attentive, more focused. When he knows everything too soon, there's no room for him to explore, no sense of progress, no milestones to reach. A woman who is emotionally intelligent and in control of what she shares commands more respect. She creates an environment where a man has to step up if he wants to be part of her life. Men talk a lot about wanting a real woman, someone who keeps it honest and open, and that's true. But what they really mean is they want a woman who is real, but not desperate for approval. They want truth, not oversharing. They want a connection, not a confession. They're intrigued by a woman who knows who she is, who shares parts of herself in layers, not all at once, because each time she reveals something new, it feels like a reward. It feels like progress. And men love the feeling of progress. They love earning trust. They love being challenged. When you give it all too soon, they skip to the end and lose interest. But when you reveal yourself slowly, with confidence and purpose, he stays locked in, he's curious, he's invested, he starts chasing. Because now, you're not just a woman he met, you're a mystery he wants to solve. There's something deeply attractive about a woman who carries herself with self-respect. A woman who has clear boundaries, who knows what she wants, and who refuses to settle for less becomes magnetic. Men may be drawn to beauty, but they stay for self-worth. When a woman has high standards, not just in relationships, but in how she allows people to treat her, it commands attention. It sends a clear message. I value myself, and if you want to be in my life, you have to value me too. This kind of confidence can't be faked, and it's what separates a woman who's chaste from one who's overlooked. When a man meets a woman who respects herself, he senses it almost instantly. She doesn't laugh at disrespectful jokes just to seem easygoing. She doesn't lower her standards to keep someone around. She doesn't stay silent when something bothers her. Instead, she communicates clearly and calmly. She lets people know what she's okay with and what she's not. And this isn't about being rude or cold. It's about knowing that her peace of mind, her energy, and her heart are not up for grabs to just anyone. A woman with self-respect doesn't tolerate inconsistency. If a man says one thing and does another, she doesn't make excuses for him. She lets his actions speak for themselves. That kind of strength might scare off the wrong man, but it attracts the right one. Men respect women who respect themselves. When a woman refuses to entertain bare minimum effort, it forces a man to rise to the occasion or step aside. And that's the point. A man who truly wants to be with you will not be intimidated by your standards. He will appreciate them. Your standards are like a filter that separate the ones who are serious from the ones who are just looking for something easy. And when you make it clear that you're not here to beg for love, not here to compete for attention, not here to accept breadcrumbs, you gain power. Not power to control him, but power to control your own experience. When you respect yourself, you move differently. You're not chasing after mixed signals. You're not holding on to potential. You're not waiting for someone to change. You're observing, you're evaluating, and you're deciding whether someone deserves your time and energy. You become a woman of presence, a woman whose time is a privilege, not a guarantee. And trust this. When a man sees that your time is valuable, when he sees that you are not easily impressed, he starts to approach you differently. He becomes more intentional. He becomes more thoughtful. He starts putting in real effort because he knows that effort is the only way to stay in your life. Having self-respect also means loving yourself enough to walk away from what doesn't align with your values. It's easy to say you have standards, but it's the action that shows whether you truly do. If you say you want consistency, but keep accepting inconsistency, your words don't mean anything. A woman with self-respect doesn't just speak about what she wants, she lives it. She walks away when someone shows her who they really are, not because she's heartless, but because she's honest with herself about what she deserves. Men are deeply drawn to women who know their worth, not because these women play hard to get, but because they actually are hard to get in the right way. They're not waiting for a man to pick them. They're deciding who deserves to walk beside them. That mindset creates a powerful kind of attraction. A man begins to chase when he feels like he's not just gaining a partner, but earning a privilege. A woman with self-respect becomes unforgettable, not because of how she looks or what she says, but because of how she makes a man feel like being in her life is something valuable, something rare, something he doesn't want to lose. One of the biggest mistakes many women make in relationships is chasing a man who's not doing the same in return. When you chase, you reverse the natural order of attraction. You step out of your feminine power and start carrying the emotional burden of the connection. You begin texting first all the time, checking in constantly, trying to prove your worth through effort, attention, and presence. But here's the truth. When you chase a man, you teach him that he doesn't have to pursue you. You send a message that you're available no matter how little he invests. And over time, he stops seeing you as someone to win over and starts seeing you as someone he already has in his pocket. That shift kills attraction. Men are wired to pursue. It's how they build value for a relationship. It's not about playing games. It's about letting the energy flow in the right direction. When a man is interested, you won't need to force it. You won't need to remind him you exist. He'll show up. He'll reach out, he'll plan, he'll make an effort, but he can't do any of that if you're always in his face, always initiating, always showing up before he even has a chance to miss you. The most powerful thing you can do sometimes is to lean back and let silence speak. When you stop chasing, you allow space, and in that space, the truth reveals itself. If he cares, he'll come forward. If he doesn't, your silence will speak louder than your presence ever could. Creating space doesn't mean cutting him off completely or being cold. It means pulling back your energy and letting him lead. It means not always being the first to reach out. It means not rearranging your schedule just to be available. It means continuing to live your life without pressing pause every time he sends a message. When you step back, you allow him the opportunity to feel your absence. And sometimes that absence is what sparks interest. A man begins to reflect. He wonders why you've pulled back. He questions what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what you might be doing. That curiosity leads to pursuit. When a woman knows how to lean back, she becomes magnetic. She's not desperate for validation. She's not needing constant reassurance. She's secure in herself and confident enough to know that if he's for her, she doesn't have to chase. That kind of confidence is rare, and it creates a shift in energy. Men feel it. They sense the difference between a woman who's waiting by the phone and a woman who's busy living her life. And trust me, men are far more likely to chase the one who doesn't need them than the one who's constantly trying to win them. It's also important to understand that chasing a man often comes from fear. Fear of losing him, fear of missing out, fear of being alone. But fear-based energy pushes people away. It creates pressure, tension, and imbalance. On the other hand, when you operate from trust, trust in your worth, trust in divine timing, trust that what's meant for you will stay, you allow love to flow freely, you let things develop naturally, you create room for real connection instead of forcing something that's not ready to bloom. A man will chase when he feels there's something valuable to pursue. But if you remove the mystery, if you eliminate the effort, if you do all the work for him, he doesn't feel the need to move toward you. He settles into comfort, and comfort leads to complacency. But when you stop chasing and focus on yourself, your growth, your passions, your peace, you become someone he can ignore. Your energy becomes calm but confident, soft but strong. And that energy, that's what makes him lean in. That's what makes him realize he wants more. That's what makes him chase you naturally. Emotional control is one of the most underrated forms of power a woman can possess, especially when it comes to relationships. When you know how to stay calm, collected, and centered, no matter what someone else does, you become a force that commands deep respect. Men are drawn to women who know how to feel their emotions without letting those emotions control their actions. Because when you master your emotions, you master the energy of the relationship. You're not reacting to every little thing. You're not begging for attention, panicking when he pulls back, or overthinking every word he says. Instead, you're responding with grace and strength. And that's what separates you from the rest. There's a difference between feeling emotions and being ruled by them. A woman who hasn't learned emotional control tends to react impulsively. If he doesn't text back fast enough, she assumes the worst. If his energy changes slightly, she begins to doubt herself. If he pulls away a little, she chases harder, hoping to fix something that might not even be broken. That kind of emotional reactivity causes more damage than good. It drains your power and gives all the control to someone else. But when you learn to pause, breathe, and not jump to conclusions, you protect your peace. You create a steady emotional space that's not easily shaken. And that kind of energy is both rare and deeply attractive. Men are often unsure how to deal with intense emotional outbursts. It overwhelms them. They don't know how to respond, so they withdraw, they shut down, or they run. But when a woman can express how she feels without losing her cool, without attacking, blaming, or spiraling, she opens the door for healthy communication. She becomes someone a man feels safe around. And safety is something every man, deep down, is looking for. A woman who is emotionally mature becomes a safe haven. She doesn't erupt at every misunderstanding. She doesn't punish with silence or explode with accusations. She communicates with clarity and composure, and that makes her unforgettable. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. It means understanding them. It means recognizing when something has triggered you and giving yourself space to process it before reacting. It means responding with thought instead of impulse. And it means knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. Sometimes silence is your most powerful response. When a man does something you don't like, You don't have to scream or cry to make a point. You can simply withdraw your energy. You can remove your attention. You can set boundaries without chaos. That alone speaks volumes. A woman who remains composed, especially when things aren't going her way, earns instant respect. She's not begging for love, not threatening to leave every time there's a disagreement. She's calm, she's grounded, and she knows that her emotions are hers to manage, not someone else's job to fix. And when a man sees that, he realizes he's dealing with someone who is not easily swayed, someone who's not chasing love but allowing it to meet her where she stands. That creates a sense of challenge, but also a sense of admiration. She becomes a woman he wants to protect, support, and be worthy of. The truth is, emotional control isn't about being cold or detached. It's about standing in your power. It's about not allowing temporary feelings to sabotage something meaningful. It's about loving yourself enough to respond instead of react. And when you master that, you shift the dynamic completely. You're no longer the one wondering, overthinking, or trying to prove yourself. You're the one who knows that what you feel is valid, but you also know that peace is more important than proving a point. That energy, strong, steady, and secure, makes a man take notice. It makes him step up. It makes him chase, not because you ask him to, but because your emotional maturity showed him you're the kind of woman who's worth every effort. There's nothing more magnetic than a woman who lives with purpose and carries herself with confidence. A woman who knows who she is, what she wants, and where she's going doesn't need to chase love. It finds her. When a woman is fully rooted in her own life, when she's focused on her goals, passions, and inner growth, she gives off a glow that naturally draws people in. Her confidence doesn't come from how many compliments she gets or how much attention she receives. It comes from within, from knowing that she is enough without needing anyone else to confirm it. Men are incredibly drawn to this kind of energy. When a man sees a woman who is doing her own thing, working hard, chasing dreams, investing in herself, it creates curiosity and admiration. He sees someone who doesn't revolve around him. She's not waiting by the phone, not checking up on him every hour, not adjusting her whole world to fit into his. Instead, she's busy building a life she loves with or without him in it. That independence is powerful. It sends a silent message. If you want to be part of my world, you need to add value to it. Confidence is not about being loud or aggressive. It's about being secure. A confident woman walks into a room and doesn't need to be the center of attention to feel important. She's at peace with herself. She doesn't compare herself to others, and she doesn't feel the need to compete. That calm confidence makes her stand out. She trusts her intuition. She respects her boundaries. She knows what she brings to the table. And when you're that kind of woman, you don't chase, you attract. You attract not only romantic attention, but respect, admiration, and meaningful connections. Living with purpose is just as important. A woman who wakes up every day with something she's working toward, whether it's a career, a business, a creative project, or even personal growth, becomes naturally interesting. She has stories to tell. She has a life that's full. And because she's not waiting for someone to come and complete her, she becomes complete on her own. That fullness of life is something that draws a man in. He doesn't feel pressure to make her happy because she already is. And that makes him want to be part of her life, not out of obligation, but out of inspiration. Men often fall hardest for the woman they can't quite figure out, the woman who's confident in her path and doesn't need to prove herself. That woman is not overly accessible. She's kind, she's warm, but she's not desperate for attention. She's selective with her time and energy. She knows her value, and that awareness makes her unforgettable. When a man meets a woman who is sure of herself, who has purpose running through her veins, and who doesn't need anyone to complete her story, he begins to chase, not because she played a game, but because her energy pulled him in. When you live with purpose and walk with confidence, you stop asking for love and start attracting it. You stop wondering where you stand and start standing firm in your truth. That's when everything shifts. A man doesn't just see you as someone to date, he sees you as someone to grow with, to commit to rise for. Because your confidence becomes a mirror that challenges him to be better, and your purpose becomes a light that makes him want to walk beside you, not ahead or behind, but as your equal. That's how you become magnetic, not by seeking validation, but by becoming the kind of woman who validates herself. Men are naturally wired to pursue. It's part of how they build emotional investment. But the truth is, they don't chase what they think they already have. They chase what feels valuable, what feels rare, and most importantly, what they fear losing. When a woman positions herself as someone who is not easily replaced, who brings unique value, who knows her worth, and doesn't settle for less, that fear kicks in. It's not about manipulation or mind games. It's about understanding how attraction truly works. If a man knows you'll stay no matter what, if he knows he can come and go as he pleases, and you'll always be there, the urgency disappears. But if he feels like losing you would be a real loss, something meaningful slipping through his fingers, that's when he steps up. Men pay attention when they sense that your presence in their life is not guaranteed. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're truly willing to walk away from anything that doesn't align with your peace, your values, and your standards. That willingness to walk away is powerful. It tells him you're not afraid of being alone. It shows that you're not emotionally dependent on his attention, and that strength triggers a different kind of attraction, the kind that moves a man to action. Because now, he's not just interested, he's motivated. He sees the value, and he understands that if he doesn't match your energy, someone else eventually will. When a man fears losing you, it's not just about physical absence. It's about emotional loss. He starts thinking about what your presence brings into his life. Your support, your energy, your encouragement, your peace. He starts imagining what life would be like without those things, and that image makes him act. That's why you don't need to force anyone to choose you. You just need to show up fully in your truth and be willing to detach when you're not being valued. That balance of openness and detachment is what keeps you in your power. You cannot convince someone to value you by staying longer in spaces where you're being taken for granted. You show someone how to value you by leaving when that value isn't seen, When a man sees that you're not afraid to let go, it changes the game. It reminds him that your love is not something he's entitled to, it's something he earns and protects. That awareness creates momentum. It makes him think before he takes you for granted. It makes him appreciate the moments, the connection, the effort you've given, and it makes him reflect on whether he's doing enough to keep it going. Fear of loss isn't always about drama or big breakups. Sometimes it's felt in your silence, in your peace, in your calm decision to stop overgiving. It's in the quiet strength of walking away from conversations that go nowhere. It's in the choice to stop explaining yourself and start observing. When you stop making someone your entire focus and return that energy to yourself, they feel the shift. They realize the dynamic is no longer in their favor. And that's when the chase begins, not because you demanded it, but because you allowed the fear of losing you to open his eyes. You don't have to beg, prove, or perform. Just be the kind of woman whose presence is deeply felt and whose absence would be even louder. That's how you move from being an option to becoming a priority, because men don't chase what's always available. They chase what they know they may never find again.